Good morning, honors U.S. history students. We are going to discuss today some of the influences that Jefferson had, the Enlightenment in general, and look at how those were implemented into the document. So let's first go to the course resources and into this unit. And you'll find another copy of the reading that you are doing for one of the segments called Ideas to Help Start a Revolution. And in this reading, it focuses on one philosopher and the most significant philosopher that Jefferson drew from, and his name was John Locke. John Locke was an English philosopher. He was born in about 1714. He lived in the 18th century, and really he was well ahead of his time. It's in this section that we talk about Locke. John Locke believed fundamentally that the role of government was different than it was at the time. Most of history to that point in Europe, in Great Britain, purpose of government was mostly to glorify those in power or to strengthen the monarch. And Locke suggested something simple, and others as the movement, the Enlightened movement, gained steam and more people were literate. The idea that government doesn't exist for the leader, that government should exist for the people, and that the purpose of government was to protect people's rights. That seems, like it makes sense, but at the time, that's a fundamentally dramatic shift in the way people viewed the role of government. So Locke, and it talks about it in here, believed that every human being had natural rights, and those rights were to life, liberty, and property. And property is a big one. Jefferson simply changed it in the Declaration of Independence to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But this concept of property is important because prior to this point in history, land ownership was reserved to those who were born into it. So not everybody had the right to own property. And Locke suggested that they did, that if a person worked hard or was overly competent or was if a number of factors, that they should be able to own property just like anybody else, or excuse me, like instead of just people who were born into it. So that's a major shift, and that did lead to a large following of people, even amongst the rural peasantry in Europe, particularly. So this is what Locke was using. And one other thing, and was based upon Locke. It was based upon a French philosopher named Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and it's a simple idea. This idea of a social contract, that the government and the people enter into an agreement, whatever the government is, that the people agree to follow the rules, whatever those rules are. And if people break the rules, there are punishments. That's how we function. You break the rules, you go to jail, you pay a fine, whatever. But the government agrees to do its job of protecting the people's rights. And if government doesn't do that, if government fails to protect the rights of the people, then it is the right, and Jefferson wrote, the responsibility of the people to overthrow that government for breaking the social contract. And that is in large part what the American Revolution was based on.